Hello all, just a quick warning, there are some slightly racist comments in this video, just from the time of publishing. Sensitivity, not overly concerned, so if you do find any of the things offensive in the poems, I do apologise for that, but it's not meant in any way, from me at least. Hello folks, Carl Screezilla here, and welcome to this special video for Anzac Day. Today we're going to be looking at HMAS Yarra, and we are going to be reading from the book by Frances Margaret Maguire on this subject. It's actually a war poem on the Yarra and her battle. Now, Yarra is a ship that is almost forgotten in history. It is basically the Australian version of the USS Johnston, a heroic ship that went up against immeasurable odds and went down fighting as much as it could. Now, Australia almost gets forgotten in the histories of the wars, of the First and Second World Wars. The Anzacs, the brave Australian and New Zealand Corps, of course, and those from Tasmania as well, but the brave Aboriginal people, the brave Maoris that fought in the war, without them it would have been so much harder to gain victory in either of the wars, but they put their lives on the line to protect others. Australia was not the biggest nation, it didn't have the biggest guns, it didn't have the best ships, it didn't have the best defences, but it had to fight against the might of the Japanese Empire, especially in the Second World War, and Australia put up a fight. It put up as much battle as it could in the Pacific. As I say, often forgotten, but a nation and an army that needs to be remembered by all. And on this day, on Australia Day, I think that should be the case. So I'll be reading from Victory for Yarra by Margaret Maguire today, and I hope you enjoy it. The sun rose over the rim of the world and spread its light across the seas. "Look," it cried, "regard well, you earthlings. These were your fathers, ordinary men doing the work for which they were trained. But their glory is greater than mine. Many have we to show us this royal garb. There was Ulysses after the fall of Troy. For 10 years braved the monsters of the Middle Sea. There were the Vikings who rode the stallions of storms across the northern wastes. Kon-Tiki following the southern drifts. There were Columbus, Drake, Magellan, Frobisher, Tacquarius, dreaming of Australia as its gods' cities, redressing the weighted evil of the Northern Hemisphere. Navigation married to religion in the service to the Holy Spirits. Tours his captain, seaman but no saint, sighted but not discovering this continent. Vasco da Gama bearing La Paz, Bourdin, and de Acastel. Tasman and the Great Cook, forerunners to Flinders, Bass, and Moresby. There were Franklin, Mawson, Shackleton, and Scott, men of ice, questers for truth, spurred on by curiosity of the world as yet unknown. And in our day, Francis Chichester, one of the score of seamen tracking their lonely roads across the oceans, jealous of their solitude. Cairns, captain of the Amethyst, was heir to Granville, who defied the dawn. Fighters, explorers, map makers, some seeking fame, perhaps, but most just following their trade, doing their duty, obeying orders, pitting their wits, their puny strength, their fortitude against the powers of nature. Or the demons, who can tell? And counting death as a price not too high to pay for winning against the odds. All these were men of little ships. We are not speaking now of giants, or of battleships or fleets, and the powerful task forces. No, this is a tale of sloops and boats, of little trade-running ships across the island's coasts, of small craft trundling in supplies, making reconnaissance, collecting information. If the ensign they flew was white, they fought with the planes, dodged submarines with charges, laid down screens of shells to help the army, or loosed a tin fish in the belly of a foe, much bigger than themselves. They were the Navy's nursemaids, maids of all work. Or, if you like to change the metaphor, they were the watchdogs and the retrievers of the fleet. They patrolled, guarded, defended, ran errands and fetched and carried, tackled marauders and shepherded their flocks of merchantmen and liners, or threw protecting screens about their capital ships, entrusting them to their care. Yes, these were little ships, all right, so small one sometimes wonders how they carried out their work in the face of forces so superior. Midgets protecting titans, and fighting titans too. The only immensity about them was the spirit of their crews. For here was size no one can calculate. In all, we mean by mortal stature, these were colossi. What they lacked in material strength, of speed and armament, they supplied with will, with faith, with loyalty, and with ordnance to their honour pledged. Listen then, and wonder. Here is the tale. HMAS Yarra was a sloop built in 1935. She had seen service in the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. For a time she was one of the inshore squadron, that heroic band of navy and mercantile ships which kept the lifelines open along the North African coast between Alexandria and the besieged defenders of Tobruk. In January of 1942 she was sent under command of William H. Harrington of the Royal Australian Navy, on convoy and escort duty to Singapore. On February 11th, her commander was changed, and Lieutenant Commander W.R. Rankin, Royal Australian Navy, became her captain. Towards the end of February, she was detailed to join a convoy of ships carrying refugees and wounded from Singapore. The enemy air strength was mounting daily. The ship suffered frequent bombings. At Palam in Sumatra, Yarra left the convoy to take up the job of towing HMAS Vendetta, which had been refitting at Singapore. When the crisis came, Yarra towed her safely into the port of Java of Tanjung Priok. Leaving Batavia again on the 27th, Yarra joined a convoy, which was spotted by Japanese planes in the Straits of Sunda. The ships were strafed continuously for 11 hours. Yarra picked up survivors from a torpedoed Dutch tanker and was then attacked by an enemy submarine. It was not until March 2nd that the convoy reached Tajalatap on the south coast of Java. Yarra, escorting 2 small merchant ships and a motor minesweeper, then headed south. The convoy was slow. The depot ship, Anking, was laden with wounded. The tanker had a precious cargo of fuel oil, and the minesweeper had been damaged. Slowly they made their way towards Australia. Though they were not yet out of the danger zone, for a time all seemed well. Our ships are going forth with our armies from the north, or to meet the yellow plague upon the seas, to smash him in his courses, break his invasion forces, and harass his battalions without cease. Veterans of wars beneath the Red Sea stars, and many a battle off the Africa shore, Yarra, old and lame, is worthy of her name, His Majesty's Australian sloop of war. She gathers up her flock off Tanjung Priok, and leads them south, 3 little ships so slow their bow waves scarcely break. They trundle in her wake, with sick and wounded in berths below, all day with carrion cry. The screaming squadrons fly, their burning eggs upon the convoy fling, with their furious flak. Stout Yarra fights them back, and gathers her little brood beneath her wing. Softly the tropic night comes down, serene and bright, a night for love or music gentle course. And as the night departs, we all lift up our hearts. Australia to the southward lies before us. Sudden a sharp alarm shatters the morning calm. Every man springs instant to his station. Eyes, guns, and glasses gaze, searching the morning haze to find the reason for this mad ovation. Our lookout now spies 7 along the brim of heaven. Their speed soon shows them heavy ships of war. Soon beyond a doubt the early light picks out the blood-red sun of Nippon at the fore. Brave Rankin scans the scene, the space of sea between, and knows the case beyond his cure or curse. Will draw their fire towards us, perhaps that may afford us a moment for our convoy to disperse. Surely then in heaven, the sturdy sons of Devon let go the shout and shock of the golden floors. And surely Nelson smiled, this much must be Richard's child, if I recall revenge and the Azores. Whatever his resistance, Rankin at this distance can never make the range with his baby guns. Can courage be more splendid than what is he now intended to face a foe of 40,000 tons? Flame heralded the jolts of cruiser thunderbolts, the glass still sea in splintering beauty broke. Scatter the convoy, ordered Rankin, and signals to the Ankin to run, for it's behind our screen of smoke. Then Francis Drake looked down, pushed his golden crown impatiently to rub his hoary thatch. By a passcode to lanyard, this man could be a Spaniard, and dish him up for breakfast on the hatch. Cried Vincent's mighty soul, by all the tides that roll, I could have done with men like these at Brest. The Dutch made worthy foes, 'tis strange to see, God knows, they make as worthy allies with the best. Now, like a murderous fan, the 7 of Japan spread out to head us off and surround us, and each man at his post, knowing that all is lost, prepares to fight and die with those around us. With deadly aim and roars, the crashing salvo shores, Yarra jerks and slides in sinking scrambles, while every shattering shell creates a white-hot hell of twist white-hot steel and bloody shambles. The sick can do nought but listen to the 8-inch projectiles whine. The Dutchmen think of their children, left to those yellow swine. The wounded curse as the ship lurches their hammocks in pain, and the Aussies think of the wide brown land they will never see again. Standing in the flood of his fallen comrade's blood, Buck Tyler, captain of the gun is he, swears heaven without tiring, I'll keep this gun a-firing as long as I have breath or eyes to see. With battle ensigns flying, and all her guns replying, the little Yarra waits not for her dead. Each living man aboard her echoes the glorious order, I intend to gauge the enemy, full speed ahead! Outnumbered and outgunned, her puny weapons stunned, to guard her charges she accepts the blast breath of the enemy. Defying she glories in her dying, as valiant she fights him to the death. So brief while she lasts before his powerful blasts, he silences her guns, but has not held her. Drifting her wreckage lies under the wandering skies, upon a sea reluctant to unfold her. These were our sons who fought for us, these were our sons who died, the sorrow and tears they bought for us, our freedom's pride. Not the magic words, nor the spell of them conjures their glory, the wind's voice roaring, the conch of their turbulent sea, is choir to their story. Only the drums of thunder, the harpstrings of rain, touching the chords of pain to pluck them asunder, can tell of them. They lie, but they lie not alone. With the shells and the metropole among the unfathomed scree of the ocean floor, as though but brightly grown with a glorious company, the stars from heaven had flown and plunged into the sea. And we who are left, why have we wept for them? Why weep, how bereft are we, when such glory is kept for them? Are we afraid of fire they engaged in? Can flames affright or immortality grieve us? They leave us a greater account to render. Grid ourselves rather to a heritage richer, our hearts to a higher emotion. For now we hold enhanced and rich, and emboldened with splendour, encompassed with greatness, as gridded our island with ocean. Within the painted palace rooms the sun of Nippon smiles and nods. The pale azure sheds her bloom, the while her heavens shapes the doom of his ancestral gods. The cherry blossoms fade and fall, the imperial sons of heavens see the rendering sunset on the wall, and hear the dreadful madrigal of death beneath the trees. And from high imperial throne the hideous power its purpose then made manifest, and being shown, is countered, caught, and overthrown by deeds of common men. O land sea-born, sea-grit, by sea ensailed, born of sea-born mother, freedom's child, your crown a million jewelled isles, that great ocean meeting ocean at your feet. We are your sons, regard us well, for we have won and held the sea which keep you free. Beware, lest these our glory and our grave become the change which bind us and hold you slave. We are your sons' blood's blood, your breath, our breath. This we have writ in blood, and sealed in death, that branded your soul may bear inedibly our immortal charge. Australia, hold the sea. And with that poem is the story of the Yarra. Now, could go in more in depth in this one, and I might do a service record of the Yarra, but I feel like this poem is a great little item of history and a great tale of her deed. Yarra ended up facing a squadron of heavy cruisers. She ended up having to fight 3 Attigo class, I think it was, off the top of my head, which was a very tricky thing to do indeed, considering each one of them weighed about 10,000 tons, and Yarra herself was only 1,000, along with the destroyer escorts that she had that the Japanese had in their flank. Yarra's battle is one of infamy, one of true gallantry, and one of courage. The souls that ended up being lost on all of those ships, on all those transports, on the Yarra, on the minesweeper, on the oil tanker, you know, they need to be remembered, and it is an amazing battle to be remembered. And I feel on Australia Day it is an important one. Obviously, I'll just mention as well, yes, there are some minor slurs in that poem. It was a very different time, yada yada yada. But it was a very interesting one. Now, little story on the book itself. So I was actually in a local bookshop, Michael Trelaw, who's a specialist in antique books in Adelaide, and this book was literally just sitting on the shelf. I've been writing a script for this for about 2 weeks, and I found this book and I feel like it was fate, so I decided to do this video with the Victory for the Yarra poem in there. I hope you've enjoyed this one and found it interesting, and as I said, I might do another video on Yarra at a later date, going through her service record in the Middle East, because there are some really interesting records there. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will see you all next time. This is me, Carl Screezilla, wishing you all a lovely day. Bye-bye.